In the vast expanse of the Wolfswood, two brothers and their direwolves ventured forth, their hearts heavy with the weight of recent tidings. Bran, astride his horse Dancer, felt a profound emptiness where the joy of the ride had once been. The cheerfulness that had accompanied him as he rode ahead of his brother Robb had dissipated, replaced by a cold dread that clung to him like the damp air. As they cantered toward the stream, Bran's mind drifted to a happier time, a memory of a day spent fishing at that very spot with Robb and Jon Snow. He recalled the warmth of the sun and the shared laughter, a stark contrast to the grim reality of the present. The thought of Jon brought with it a fresh wave of grief and anxiety, and Bran couldn't help but ask if they would ever see their half-brother again. Robb, ever the pragmatist, offered a small comfort, reminding him that even their uncle Benjen had returned to Winterfell. But the moment of solace was brief, shattered by the howls of the direwolves. Robb, sensing the urgency in their cries, spurred his horse, telling Bran to stay put. He rode off, disappearing into the dense foliage, leaving Bran alone with only his horse and the unsettling silence. The wait felt endless. Bran began to call out for his brother, but his pleas were swallowed by the vastness of the forest. The silence was suddenly broken by the rustle of leaves, and 4 ragged men and 2 women emerged from the trees. Their clothes were tattered and stained, and a sense of unease washed over Bran. He knew they were not foresters or farmers. The fine clothes he wore suddenly felt like a target on his back. A large, menacing man, whom the others called Stiv, demanded his horse and his silver pin. Bran, with a flash of anger, told them he was Brandon Stark, son of Eddard Stark, Lord of Winterfell, and ordered them to let go of his horse. The man only laughed. Then, one of the women, a tall and striking figure with red hair, noticed the straps that held Bran in his saddle. Her eyes widened in recognition, and she spoke a name that sent a jolt of fear through Bran. Mance Rayder will pay well for a kinsman of Benjen Stark. The name was a ghost from his nightmares, a whisper of the dangers that lay beyond the wall. Stiv, a cruel smile on his lips, moved to cut the straps, his knife flashing in the dappled sunlight. He was determined to take Bran, even if it meant harming him. The blade sliced through the leather and grazed Bran's leg, but he felt nothing, only a sudden lightheadedness. Just as Stiv was about to pull Bran from his saddle, Robb's voice cut through the air. "Surrender!" He was mounted, an elk draped over the back of his horse, his face a mask of fury. The outlaws, however, were not intimidated, laughing at the lone boy. They pointed out that Robb was the one who was outnumbered and should surrender. But then Robb let out a sharp whistle, and from the woods the direwolves appeared. Grey Wind and Summer, their eyes glowing like embers, charged at the outlaws. The wolves moved with a deadly grace, their teeth and claws a blur of fur and muscle. Grey Wind tore through the men, his jaws snapping, while Summer ripped open the belly of the short woman named Hallie. Robb, in a flash of steel, killed one of the men and rode down the tall woman Osha as she lunged at him with her spear. It was a whirlwind of violence, a brutal display of the power that lay within the Stark family. Stiv, now facing Robb and the direwolves alone, finished cutting Bran free and pulled him from the saddle. He held his knife to Bran's throat and commanded Robb to drop his sword. Robb, his face pale with fear for his brother, complied. Stiv then ordered Robb to call off the direwolves. Bran's heart pounded in his chest. "No!" knowing that without the wolves they would be defenseless. Just as he spoke, an arrow from Theon Greyjoy's bow, as quick as a serpent's strike, found its mark, piercing Stiv's chest. He collapsed into the stream, the water turning red with his blood. The Stark guardsmen appeared, their faces pale with a mix of shock and horror at the carnage before them. Theon, ever the showman, wore a proud smile, but Robb's fury was not yet spent. He turned on Theon, scolding him for taking such a chance with Bran's life. He then rounded on the guardsmen, demanding to know why they were not there sooner. They explained they had been waiting for Maester Luwin, but Theon sheepishly admitted he had led them off to hunt a turkey. Robb was angrier than Bran had ever seen him, his rage a fiery inferno in the cold forest. As Maester Luwin tended to Bran's wounds, he pointed out that 2 of the men wore the black of the Night's Watch. Robb, his voice steely with resolve, ordered their heads cut off for transport back to the Wall, a grim message for the deserters. The question of what to do with the wildling woman Osha remained. She dropped to her knees, begging for her life, promising to serve Robb as her lord. Robb, ever the just leader, considered her words, but Theon, still smiling, suggested they give her to the wolves. Osha shuddered, and even some of the guardsmen looked queasy. But Maester Luwin, ever the voice of reason, advised Robb to question her. He reasoned that a wildling might know what lies beyond the Wall, a place of mystery and danger. Robb, taking his counsel, ordered Osha to be bound and taken back to Winterfell. The joy of the ride was now a distant memory, replaced by a grim reality, a reminder that the world outside the walls of Winterfell was a dangerous and unforgiving place. What happens to Osha at Winterfell, and how does she influence the Stark children? Follow to find out.